Mopar people, welcome back to the channel. I'm Justmoparjoe. I didn't even want to do another Roadrunner video because it's supposed to leave here, and it's going to leave this week. I decided it, talked to the owners, they're good people, and I said it needs to go home for a little while. If it comes back, great. If not, that's okay with me. But let me show you what I got going on. If you recall, I took out this old crusty face gauge cluster here and I put in this one. So basically they had taken some of the white stickers stuck on there. This gauge cluster actually has a clock in it. So I took the front off the other one, switched them, all that jazz. If you see, all our gauges here, when I turn the key on, that alt gauge drops down. But did you see that fuel gauge? It pegged it out. So I go back to the sending unit. In case you didn't know, most of you probably do, this sender is supposed to be grounded, and here's my ground strap there. So what I did was take an alligator clip wire, clipped it onto there, and I ran it to this red wire. And there's that pretty red wire. A little bit of masking tape on the car, goes through the car, all the way through the car, and out here to the ground post. So I wanted to rule out that it was a bad ground. This is a good ground. It goes all the way to the battery. So I get back around here. Back around to here. If I get that unplugged, there we go. That is the factory wire that runs to the back of the gauge. So I took that long wire before and I attached it to that little peg with my alligator clip while this was grounded, and it pegged the gauge out. So usually if you run a ground wire to that wire, it will peg your gauge out if the gauge is good. That's my understanding. Y'all let me know in the comments if you disagree, whatever. I've just had a little bit of experience with this stuff. So my idea was, let's check a different sending unit. If you will recall, I am building a 74 Dart Sport. I bought this sender for it about 2 years ago, whenever I first got the car and I was buying parts. So here it is. Sadly, it's brand new. The sad part is, I guess, it's different than the one that's in this tank. Doesn't matter, it should give a very similar reading when we hook it up. So now I have moved my alligator clip to my little wire. It's not touching anything metal. I made sure of that. Follow it down, and I hooked it to the post of this new sender. I took my ground wire and just shoved in here so it would ground. Remember, it's just a bare wire on the end. Now my sender, I'll stick it about halfway. Let's go try the key. Back in the car, key on. What's that gauge doing? The gauge is showing about 1/4. A lot of times that's typical. If you get an aftermarket sending unit, some of them need to be adjusted some with the float setting. You can bend the float up or down. A lot of them are never really actually right. I don't know why, but it just happens. They make a thing called a meter match. I believe Tanks Inc. makes one and several other companies. But what it does is match the ohms from the car gauge to the ohms of the sender. And you can adjust. You take an ohm reading at the bottom, an ohm reading at the top, and you input those into the small meter match, and then it sends a signal for you to kind of translate from the sender to the gauge. So you can run any kind of tank you'd like and any type of sender as long as you have that meter match. I've never used one, but I hear they are good for that. So with my key still on, I'll go ahead and move this up just like we were to fill the car up with gasoline and go see if that gauge is moved. Still slightly moving. I don't think it'll make it all the way to full. I've got a new sender ordered. and I need to go ahead and get that tank out. I'm going to install it. Got the old slow siphon going here. I'm going to switch over to the other jug in just a second. That one's almost full, but had about 10 gallons of gas in it, I think. Somewhere between 7 and 10. Anyway, I appreciate y'all watching. A little quick Tuesday tech tip. And if I don't see you before Christmas, Merry Christmas. Catch y'all next time.